Hey everyone, Professor K here. So I'm here with some quick tips on how to name CSS classes. I think this is a good topic to cover because it can be hard to figure out what to name your CSS classes when you're first starting out. And there's a lot of different information and a lot of different models on the internet for how you should name your CSS classes. But I think for now, what I would focus on is just making sure that your CSS is easy and readable and that another developer could understand what it styles when they read it. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So here on Glitch, I have just a simple example of some Animal Crossing collector's cards. And I've mocked up two cards here, Piper and Matilda, using basic HTML. So here, one thing I can do is remove this to-do. One common practice with web development is to add a comment with to-do in all capital letters in front of anything that you still have to do while you're working on code. So I just added Matilda right before this recording, and I'm going to delete that so I don't have to worry about it anymore. Now I know the to-do is done. The next question is, now that I'm ready to start styling this and actually making these look like collector's cards, what should I call my CSS classes across all this HTML so that it's really easy to understand just by reading the CSS in this other file, and I'm just going to take this out of here, what we're styling. So remember that because these are in separate files and there's a separation of concerns, your content is in your HTML file and your styles, your design work is going to be in style.css. You want something that when you read it by itself in style.css, it's easy to remember what's happening. So one way I like to do this is called component-based naming. So I'm just going to show you what that looks like. Aside class equals double quotes. And now I want to pick a name that's reminiscent of what this whole card is doing, what the purpose of everything from this first opening tag to the last opening tag is. So I'm going to call this animal card, animal-card. One convention I like to follow is lowercase and hyphenation in my CSS classes. You can also use underscores, but they're harder to type. So a lot of developers prefer to use hyphenation instead. It's also good practice to have everything lowercase and not uppercase things for no particular good reason. And remember that with classes, you can use them multiple times throughout your HTML. So everywhere where you want the same sort of styles, you'll repeat that class. For example, I'm going to repeat this animal card class on Matilda so that she gets the same styles as Piper does. From here, my class naming convention is going to follow that animal card, and everything that's a child of animal card is going to have a class name pattern that references animal card. So for my H2, I might call this animal card dash title, because that's the stylistic meaning I want it to have. I want to know when I look at my style.css, if I write .animal-card-title and I say color teal, it's really easy for me to remember that this is being styled, the title of the animal card. That's the reason why good class naming is important. From there, you might think of similar naming, such as for our image, animal card image, right? From here, this might be animal card traits. And you're just going to code down and maybe even do like animal card description. It's as easy as that. And now you can see that I've quickly come up with a list of all the CSS classes that are easy for me to repeat throughout this. So all I have to do is take the same pattern and apply it down to my aside here. Let's take a look at that. So here I would just copy animal card title, here animal card image, animal card, and you can see I'm accidentally getting some extra spaces in here. So I'm just going to tidy those up. Animal card traits. And then finally, down here, animal card description. So now I know when I go to style this in my style.css, on my animal card, I want a border of 1 pixel, solid. Let's do gray. And I'm just going to quickly write out some styles, padding 1em, just like real rough stuff. And you can see they're applying to both cards because I have consistent styles. Let's say I wanted these to have a width of 50%, and I want them to float left, so they sit next to each other. Oh, and you know what I forgot to do on this? We'll talk more about this later, but one thing that can help is to change the way that things size on the page so they behave a little bit more like you expect. So I'm going to put in that, and we'll learn more about this later, but for right now, I just want this, there we go, to sit next to each other. And now I already have a good jump start on my CSS, even with just some real basic stuff. And when I read through my CSS and look at these CSS classes, it's really easy for me to understand how the styles are going to apply. So with that, I hope that helps you understand a little bit more about your class naming conventions. Remember that what you really want to do with CSS class naming is just make sure that when somebody else reads your code, they can understand how it will apply. Remember that CSS classes can be used multiple times in multiple places, so you want to be somewhat specific with your naming. For example, don't use a CSS class of italic, right? Italic doesn't really describe what a component is. It's more like a style. However, animal card, like I used, helps describe what an Animal Crossing collector card might look like. So it's really easy for me to remember exactly where my styles will apply. And I know I won't be using those animal card styles on any other type of component, so there'll be no conflicts. With that, I hope that helps you understand how to better name your CSS classes. I'll see you later.